I got my head out the sunroof. I'm blasting our favorite tunes. I only got one thing on my mind. You got me stuck on the thought of you. You're making me feel brand new. You're more than a sunshine in my eyes. I'm feeling like this might be my time to shine with you, with you, with you. I got my head out the sunroof. I'm blasting our
Hi, welcome to In the Middle and Out of the Box, episode 14. Today we're going to talk about the fate of condos. So if you are a condo owner, it's really important to listen to this. We're also going to talk about why sharks are coming closer to the shore. You're not crazy, they really are. But before we do that, I just wanted to give you a couple updates. So first of all, I wanted to talk about the desalinization episode and podcast I did. I think it was episode 6. I failed to mention in there, I think I mentioned it in later episodes in the beginning when I do updates, that there is new legislation and there's also prior laws that were in effect since the 2000s that were taken away as far as local control over your water supply in South Florida. So that means in time of severe drought, or in this case where we know aquifers are going to be running out, the state can step in and take over the water control as far as who's getting water. And it's not about just people in your city. They can redirect the water supply wherever they want to. So again, this is why it's so important to watch episode 6 for desalinization. I know it's a long episode. Unfortunately, there's a lot of detail and information that has to be given. It's not really one that you fast forward through. You just have to kind of sit and learn about it so that at the end of the summary makes sense about what the next steps are and what we should be doing, which is not just pulling from aquifers. So anyway, I wanted to give you an update about that and make sure everybody knows about the prior laws that were taken away and also the new legislation also. The second update I wanted to give you was on Brightline. So my husband and I went down to Miami for Valentine's Day, and we took Brightline, and it was fantastic. We loved it. We were going to dinner. We were going to a nice concert, and it was just the most pleasurable, easy, stress-free, relaxing, and it just really made the night special. So kudos to Brightline, 100% I recommend it. Like I said, I've been excited about this since day one. We were there in less than 50 minutes, no traffic, and it was just a great experience. From the warm towels they give you when you first get on, we were in premium car, and the nice premium lounge where we just sat and drank and had nice food to eat, versus the onboard service. Again, they give you like a bento box of different choices for food and drinks, and it's just a lot of service that they provide to you. So I just wanted to say again, I personally tried it. It's fantastic. And if you haven't tried it yet, it's great. I also wanted to update everybody that is waiting for the northbound train in the morning. We have a lot of people, some people wrote to me about they were looking for a morning commuter train to West Palm to go north. We have a lot of trains that are going south, but we didn't have a train going north. So as of March 4th, Brightline is adding a northbound morning train for morning commuters. There's going to be a total of 22 trains going in and out of Boca Station during the day, and it's only going to continue to increase. Once Orlando comes online within probably the next 2 months or so, they talked about the end of the second quarter, we're going to have a lot more trains also. So they're working on that right now. They're trying to put more trains on the tracks, get more trains, improve the scheduling. But there is definitely now, as of March 4th, going to be a morning commuter train north to West Palm. So that's a really big update. I know a lot of you guys were looking for that. All right, so let's move into today's content, okay? So the fate of condos, I'm going to be looking at this from 2 different perspectives. I myself live in a condo, but a lot of people are saying to themselves, should I buy a condo? Should I sell my condo? What's going to happen with this condo? Because ever since the new law came down from the state regarding Everson Surfside with the new structural inspections and so forth, I think I went over this already in one of the episodes, about what's going to be needed. Not only just, a lot of people have done concrete work for cosmetic purposes and things like that, but a structural inspection has to be done by a threshold engineer, which is anything over 3 stories. It needs coring. It needs under the condo. You need to see what's underneath as far as the water table. It needs electrical upgrades in Boca have to be done. That's their special service. again, all this stuff is outlined in the requirements for the structural engineer survey and threshold survey that's going to be inspection that's going to be required. I think it's as of next year in January. So all these condos now are scrambling. And so I just wanted to go over a couple different perspectives. Okay, so going back again in 2022 when the new laws were the governing condo regulations after Surfside, they put policy changes into effect, right? When structural inspections have to take place, electrical upgrades, association budgets and reserves are now required and managed. They no longer can be waived. So it also needs local building oversight. So what used to happen is the condo owners themselves would decide whether they're going to do repairs or not going to redo repairs, and nobody else would even know about it. And these are, lay people. These aren't experienced people, engineers and so forth. So they were making those types of decisions, and there was no oversight over that. So now whenever there's an inspection done, a copy of that has to go to the local building department, a copy of that goes to the county, and then also it's also public record. So that way anybody that's looking to purchase in that unit or sell in the unit or just wants to look for it, they have a copy of it available, so they have to be able to see a public copy of that inspection and how the building fared, basically. So again, the local building department is copied, public record. The new legislation created a perfect storm for many residents and associations, which are contending with costly repairs amongst looming deadlines. Aging condominiums are especially challenged as their residents weigh regarding upgrades against the reality that their building may be approaching functional obsolescence, right? So it's getting to the point where the buildings themselves are no longer going to be valued at what they have to put into them to repair them or get them up to acceptable limits because they've been neglected for so long. So making the underlying and more valuable land actually more preferable, right, for investors to purchase. So what's happening is some places are actually bypassing the compliance with the new laws, and they're looking to terminating their condo. They're actually looking to selling their property altogether. So this is a new dynamic industry that's growing for investment. They're trying to get available land to do tear downs of these old condos and actually purchase them and build a new one or build something else. So this available land is available for selling opportunity for real estate developers and investors pursuing Florida, right? Which we know is happening a lot. So when you run out of land, they have to look at other options. And one of them is tearing down these old condos. And a lot of these old condos are coming into functional obsolescence, where either the condo dwellers themselves can't afford the huge assessments, or they've decided that the building itself is just not worth it and they have to just tear it down and leave and sell their property. Also, what's happening is the mortgage requirements, right? So the mortgage requirements are very strict now. So if you're looking, I was looking for some family members that were looking for a condo, very strict. The roof age has to be less than 15 years. It has to be in excellent condition. It has to be, and that's the maximum. They have to make sure that the electrical's been upgraded, the structure has been inspected. These mortgage companies are getting tough. So is the insurance companies. So the insurance companies are saying, we're not even going to insure your property if the roof is too old, or if you haven't had your structural inspection yet, or the concrete work hasn't been done yet. So at this point, everybody's kind of scrambling. So the scarcity of land is compounded by a surge of new residents, right? So not only do we have not much land left, but on top of that, we had over 320,000 people located to Florida last year. So we talked about 1,000 or so a week. So this population growth is fueling historic demand for residential and commercial real estate and communities across Florida, putting the aging condominium ripe for redevelopment squarely in the crosshairs of out-of-state developers. So again, these out-of-state developers, they have these condos on their radar. They're looking to utilize these out-of-date condos for their next development project. Trust me, they're 10 steps ahead of everybody. So a closer look at Florida's crop of aging condos reveals why many of these properties are situated far from the shoreline. So a lot of people think only condos are on the shoreline, and that can't be further from the truth. A lot of the condos are actually located in mid and western Palm Beach County, both in Boca and Delray and Highland Beach. Well, Highland Beach is only on the barrier island, but most of these condos are actually in the western communities. So much emphasis has been put on the waterfront, but in many cases there's even a greater opportunity inland for these developers, because in some cases the land is already zoned for higher density as just a matter of right of when it was built. So this focuses on the public-private partnership, affordable housing, and land development, right? So especially cities right now, they're ripe for wanting to do affordable housing. So if you have a out-of-state developer come in looking for an functionally obsolete condo, and let's say they had 100 units there, but now the city wants affordable housing so bad that they're willing to work with that developer and put 200 units there instead for increase the density. So the developer wins out in that case also. So again, it's just everything is a perfect storm right now for these out of state or developers that are looking to utilize these aging condominiums that have not been taken care of and been neglected and just kind of tear them down. So that's one perspective, okay, as far as the investor, what's happening to the aging condos. I can give you an example of one that I know of that was here locally in Highland Beach. There was a condo. It was called the Wiltshire House. And for years and years and years, you know, the residents continued to turn down repairing it, replacing things, you know, whatever. We don't have the money. We don't have reserves. We don't whatever. And that was a big mistake, right? So it came to the point now when this new law passed for Surfside, after Surfside, that the actual building itself was functionally obsolete. The amount of repair work was more than the units were worth or the building was worth. And so the owners themselves decided, you know, to try to terminate the condominium. This ran into a lot of problems, right? So the problems are that, first of all, if they sold to a developer, now the new zoning that's in place right now in Highland Beach is no longer, I think the Wiltshire House is 5 or 6 stories. The new zoning right now, it only allows, I think it's 3 or 4 stories. So the developer obviously wants to replace what was there and be able to have the density that they have in order to make obviously more money and make it more profitable for them. So they're not going to tear down a 5-story condo and only build a 3-story condo. They would be losing money in that respect because they also have to pay out all the owners. So first of all, the town didn't keep up with what was going on with the density, right? That should have been something that was grandfathered in, that obviously they're not changing the zoning, but if there was a condo that wants to terminate its condominium statute, that they can rebuild to at least to what they were and just replace what was there. That would have been the foresight to see how this condominium could have been bought and rebuilt properly. But the town didn't do that. So they basically said, well, you know, now our current zoning is 3 stories, and that's what you have to rebuild, only 2. So that was one of the problems that they had, is the town wasn't able to adapt properly. The second thing is that the individual condominium owners needed a majority, right, to vote for selling the property and terminating it, the condominium. And unfortunately, you know, again, it's the same thing. Some wanted to stay, some wanted to leave. It was a mess, right? So a condominium really has to come up with a plan, right? They have to talk about this outright. If the expenses when these inspections are getting done are so excessive, in this case, in the Wiltshire House, they actually wound up with over $100,000 per unit assessment. So again, you know, should they have sold it? Should they have terminated the condominium? Should the town have done the right thing and just grandfathered them in and build what was there? Yes, 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 yes. But unfortunately, that's not what happened. So now the owners are paying this assessment. So that's a good example of what can happen when all the pieces of the puzzle are not working properly. And so again, you want to try to prevent that. So let's move on to condos east of the waterway. So I wanted to show you this graphic. These are the condos that are actually on the Intercoastal and the Barrier Island. So Boca Raton has a total of 79. Delray has a total of 93. Highland Beach has 83. So there's a significant number on the Barrier Island and also on the Intercoastal side. So again, these are significant, and these are mostly all over 40 years old. Here's a map of them. This is the best way I could really show it. Again, the red ones are over 40 years old and the blue ones are under 40 years old. But again, they're kind of strewn all throughout Boca, Delray, Highland Beach. They're everywhere. Now that's just the Barrier Islands and the Intercoastal side. Here's a map of what I was trying to explain before, and this is kind of a high view. A lot of these condominiums that are over 30 years, 40 years are all in the western or midpoint of the communities in Delray and Boca. So here's Delray Beach, right? So we have all red, orange, and a few yellow dots, which are 25 years and older. Very few green dots, which are newer than 20 years. So you can see the majority of them obviously have to now fit the criteria for a structural inspection and all the things we talked about already as far as what's needed and required now by the state. So there are quite a few of them. This is Highland Beach and also Boca Raton, again, all Western, Midwestern communities, midpoint communities, again, that need to have their recertifications and inspections done over 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. So I'm going to look at it from the other side, right? So not from the development side as far as a condominium, what you should be doing and what the investors are looking for, but I'm going to look at it from the other side, right? So Miami-Dade County just came out, I think it was 2 days ago, with a brand new offering for condominium owners for assistance, right? That are hit with repair and special assessments. So first of all, I want to say kudos to Mayor Daniela Levine Cava. She is always on point. She constantly and consistently comes through for her residents. Whenever there's a need, she makes sure that there's some type of aid for them. So I just want to say she's a fantastic mayor down in Miami-Dade. She's doing so much down there. And talk about somebody that you want to have mentor or emulate or use their templates or not recreate the wheel from. She's definitely the one. So what she did is she said, okay, we're going to give you a 40-year interest-free loan for up to $50,000 special assessment, because she knows that a lot of these owners in these condominiums are elderly or no longer working on limited incomes, and they can't afford a $50,000 or $100,000 assessment. So what she said is, I'll spread it over 40 years, up to $50,000. I think it's like $100 a month or something like that. And the only thing she put on it was the 140% median income. So for a single person, that would be an income no higher than $95,620. For a couple, it would be $109,200, and then for a household of four, it would be $136,500. So again, reasonable. Those are high, middle income ranges that we use for workforce housing. But a lot of people that are on a limited income don't have those types of salaries. So this is going to help a majority of the people that are in these condos that really, really need the help. So what we're looking for here is a great example again, right? Why are we going to recreate the wheel? Where's Palm Beach County? Where's Broward County? Where are we? So this is a new offering helping people in condominiums that are coming up to these structural inspections that are due next year, early next year. They need assessments, they need money, they can't do it. So she came out with this, and we need to make sure that Palm Beach County steps up to the plate and also does the same thing. Usually they lag pretty far behind, so hopefully they will step up. Okay, so the second part of the program is sharks coming closer to the shore. So first of all, I just want to say, you're not crazy. They definitely are coming closer to the shore. The scientists for the last year or two have really been studying this to find out what this phenomena is about. And I don't want anyone to think that the reason I'm talking about this is somehow to panic people or scare people. All I'm doing is just providing accurate data, science, facts, and you can assume your own risk. But this is really just more for informational purposes, because I know myself living on the beach, I see sharks coming up onto the sand all the time, and it just is getting more and more frequent. So to me, I know that this was a true fact, and I figured let me go dig out some science and find out why. So I'm just trying to provide that information. So again, it's not about, well, there's not that many attacks and this and that and provoked and not provoked and that's where they live and we shouldn't. This isn't about that. This is about just why are sharks coming up on the sand more frequently. That's all this is about. Okay, so the high urbanization may be driving the higher occurrences of sharks within the coastal water. With increased levels of urbanization in coastal cities, it's important for our world to understand how ocean life adapts to changing in their habitats. So this is all from the Miami study that came out. Through analyzing the data, the University of Miami researchers found that the sharks' space use patterns were similar to urban adapters, species that prefer using urban area spaces. These scientists proposed some hypotheses that human-produced waste and nutrient runoff attract ample prey for sharks, leading to increased population closer to shore. Now, this also concurrently goes along with why we're seeing more and more sargassum blooms out in the ocean and getting more seaweed. This is all from the nutrients, right? From this runoff, from the sewage, from the waste, from the phosphorus, and so forth. So this would go hand in hand with that, that this is something that attracts the sharks. And so the more there is, the more urbanization, the more runoff, the more sewage, the more nutrients that are coming into the water close by the shore. They also state that climate change, right, with warmer waters, are adding to the adaptation because it's expanding. We have about 20 species of sharks and sea life that are right off of our coast here. And they're expanding the nurseries, right? So the nurseries used to be only in a certain area, but with climate change, they're expanding it. It's warmer in more places, so they can expand that nursery out and closer to the shore. They also hypothesize that a lot of fishermen who discard fish carcasses may be attracting sharks as well, right? More population, more fisher people, I guess you want to call them, more boats, more deep sea fishing. I know that there's a lot of people that fish right off the shore, surf casting. So I would never probably go in the water if somebody was fishing by me because you're attracting sharks. Now, I know everybody, is hopefully are accustomed to seeing that every year there's a migration of black-tip sharks, and they always have the shot of the helicopter over them and people just swimming around and totally oblivious to the fact that there's black-tip sharks all around them. They're waving to the helicopter or whatever. But this is different. They're actually coming onto the sand, okay? So again, it's just curious why this is happening. So all of these reasons came out of the Miami study that you're not crazy, this really is happening. So I'm going to just show you exactly kind of what I'm talking about. The other thing with some videos, the other thing is everyone's like, oh, well, that's up in Jacksonville or that's up in, Daytona. No, we've had it here, right? We had several sharks in Delray come ashore that we've seen pictures of. If you're on any of the Facebook posts, we've had an attack here in Highland Beach. We had Boca, the same thing. This is happening all the time. So this is not just far away land. This is actually coming here, right? All along the Florida coast, it's happening. So, years ago, it could have been only up there, but now it's not up there anymore. So I just wanted to clarify that too. So we're going to watch 2 videos just to kind of give you an idea of what I'm talking about. If you don't frequent the beach, a lot, you might not be aware of this. So I just kind of want to show you what I'm talking about. So watch these 2 videos and we'll be right back.
Oh my God, about a 3-foot shark. Maybe 4 feet, not a small shark.
Okay, so that hopefully will give you an idea of what we're talking about. So here is something that I use, and I know I've posted it a couple times when we had a visitor recently very close to the shore. And it's just an app that you can use on your phone. It's called OSearch, and it actually is kind of neat because it not only shows sharks, but it shows turtles, it shows bull sharks, it shows swordfish, shows a bunch of different things. You can pick what you want to see. I just happen to put all marine life. But what's interesting about this, again, for the great whites, this is mostly for great whites, but they want to make sure you understand that this is less than like 1% that are tagged. So although there might not be showing that there's a great white in your area, that doesn't mean there's not a great white in your area. So just make sure you understand that. This is just trying to show migration patterns, where they go during the seasons, where their nurseries are. It's really more for scientific data, but it's kind of interesting to watch because, like I said, we had one close by. His name was Ironbound, and he kept coming in and coming out, getting close, very close to the shore, almost touching the shore there, you can see. And then he would go out a little bit, then come back in. He'd go south and north. And so, again, it was kind of fun to watch Ironbound's track because you could see him. He was constantly going to Delray, Boca, Highland Beach, Delray, Boca, Highland Beach. So it was kind of interesting. So if there's one, there's probably more, just so you remember that. This is a very small percentage for scientific data that's actually tagged. So here's Ironbound. That's what was offshore. So again, it's not to scare anyone. It's just to show you sharks coming about close to shore, touching the bottom, coming up on the sand, and so forth. So I did want to just show you just for specifically how Florida kind of fits in. Again, this isn't about shark bites, even though this is what it says. I just want to show you that Florida is like the number one area where the sharks are, I guess, biting or coming ashore or whatever, both on the east and west coast. And we count for the largest percentage of bites, and non-provoked, provoked, whatever. Again, just wanted to show you that Florida is really playing a major role here in this data. And again, just showing an upward swoop of that, it's not only that the sharks are coming onto the sand and up on the shore and closer to shallow waters, but there's also more biting frequency. But again, I'm not getting into that. I'm just saying that the activity of the shark has changed, so you are not crazy. So I just wanted to make sure you guys knew about the app and understand that there are sharks out there. And again, just to be aware, and everyone can assess their own risk. Okay, so now we're going into science and technology and art, always my favorite parts of the show. And again, Tesla's coming out again, strong again. And this time they're saying that they're going to be starting a new wireless home charging station from Tesla. And I know I had updated in a prior episode about now, I think it was Bank of America is offering, if you buy an EV car, they're also allowing you to put into the financing the actual charger for your home. So this is really perfect for this also. They actually allow you to finance that with the car because they are pretty expensive, the chargers. So Tesla's coming out with a brand new type of charger. They just started, and it's actually, I don't know if you can see it, but under the car, there's a long, like a blackish, grayish, charcoal colored pad that goes under the car. And basically, when the car sits on top of that, obviously the batteries are on the undercarriage of the car. That's what's charging the car. So it's not going to be a plug-in any longer in the future. This might be another year or two down the road, but this is ultimately what they're going to strive for. They already have this in testing, I think, over in Europe. And this is going to be coming eventually to the U.S., where you have a plug-in type of charger. It's just a drive-on charger. So this I thought was really interesting. And again, a lot of places now are starting to do the road charging where you're driving and there's actually charging mechanisms embedded into the road. I think the first U.S. road was done recently with that. I know I had shown you a couple episodes ago a road over in Europe, but they had just started doing that in the U.S. also in a small trial space. Okay, now this is kind of neat. This is a moving stairs optical illusion. And, this again is science and technology kind of thing where it's kind of fun, where you're actually watching this and it really looks like this staircase or whatever you want to call it, ramp, is actually rotating and revolving, right? So, but it's not. What's revolving is actually the people. So it's an optical illusion. It actually tricks your brain into this. And somebody had commented when I saw this that it kind of reminds you of the old Shea Stadium in New York. They used to have these ramps that went around the Shea Stadium. And it was kind of fun to also, I remember that myself as a child, but it's the same similar situation. I forget the country that this was in, but I thought it was a great optical illusion about how our brains kind of can play a trick on us. So I thought that was interesting to see. Big news this week, they had over on Easter Island that they found a new Moai statue. It was in the bottom of a lake bed that was completely submerged. And I guess, I don't know, through ground radar or whatever, but they found it. And so now they have another new Moai. In addition to that, they've recently discovered that these, aren't just shoulders and heads, that they're actually full-size bodies that go down. So the more archaeology that's done on this and digging and science and data, it's just a very interesting island. Again, the fact that they just found a brand new one in, 2023 is fascinating. So again, there's so much still left to be explored in the world. Okay, so this is kind of a little bit of both. So this is architectural design. So as I mentioned, my husband and I were down in Miami, and we were standing there waiting for an Uber, and I look up and I see this building. And, the first thing I thought of was, wow, you know what? This is a great idea. This is a parking garage at the bottom of a condominium building. And, it's like, especially the buildings that are happening in Boca and Del Rey, especially the modern block type of style, the developers are getting away with, the least option as far as the least expensive option to build. They're really skimping on the architecture and so forth. And I'm like, here's a great idea of design, right? Wouldn't it be nice to have a parking garage that actually looked nice, right? With some architectural design to it. So it's like, we've got to make our developers and builders and so forth step up more and start actually really designing and using architecture skills to really make it impressive to look at rather than just the concrete, parking garages or whatever. So it can be done. This is a perfect example. It takes a little more time, takes a little bit more money, takes a little design, but it can be done. So I just wanted to show you guys a perfect example of what can be done when thought and time are put into it. Okay, so now last week I started about natural beauty, and of course, after that episode was filmed, I found so many other things about it that just kept popping up. So I just wanted again to really quickly show you just a few things of natural beauty. And the design of this mushroom cap to me is just amazing, how nature takes design to a whole nother level. And so again, I just thought I'd show this, how beautiful that was under a mushroom cap. This is called Elephant Rock. It's in Iceland. And I mean, it looks like an elephant, how nature itself has carved away this rock, the texture, the look, everything about it. It looks like an elephant. So again, I thought that was pretty interesting. I tried to get the best pictures I could. I'm not quite sure how accurate the bottom one is, but I wanted to make sure I showed the overview. There was only one picture of the overview, but I know that large picture in the middle is accurate, and it does go for a whole island. It's all rock. So again, I just thought this was so neat how nature has taken this and made it a beautiful resemblance to an elephant. This is really interesting, right? So this is a pond, obviously up in the north, and it's starting to freeze over. And what happens, right? It looks like an eyeball. So it's just amazing how nature, like the mushroom and so forth, can just design things on its own. And it's just amazing. So I really wanted to show this because I just thought it was amazing to see something like this happening naturally in nature. And then this had been sent to me by somebody, but I also saw it again recently, and I just thought, how beautiful, because I know living on the beach, and I usually take photos every day or every other day. I haven't been able to for months now because we're doing some work on the condominium, and my access has been restricted to get down to the beach and so forth, but I will be shortly soon. But this was a person that actually stood in the same exact spot for 12 months and showed the movement of the sun and how, this is amazing how the earth tilts on its axis during the seasons and how the sun moves. And it also shows too, which is something I've seen every day, that there's never two sunrises that are the same or sunsets, whatever coast you're on, that are the same. It's always unique. It's always different. They might be similar, but they're very different. So I just thought this was such a nice picture to show how nature, again, creates this natural beauty. And then I just wanted to end the show today with some of my photos. Like I mentioned, I've been taking photos. I took photos all throughout the pandemic. I cut down a lot, but then I still posted them once in a while. And I will be starting again soon. But again, these are just some shots that I've taken. And that's how I'm going to end the program today. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got some interesting and important information about condos, and you're more informed about why sharks are coming up on the sand, and enjoyed our science and art. So have a great week, and we'll see you next time.